Yo, welcome to the Idon Active Health Show. It's your host Khalil Smith, and we got Nikolai here. This is my man's. But anyway, we're gonna do a man talk. This is the first time I'm doing it on my show, but we're doing it because we want to talk to men who may get too full of themselves. They might have like ego problem, and it may get them in the wrong route, and they don't use logic. I've done it myself, so I'm not judging, but maybe they're not aware like I was. So I want to help them with this show, help men understand what they're doing, and maybe they could change. So we're gonna get right into the introduction, and we can get right into the conversation. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome back to Man Talk from the Idon Active Health Show. So this show was inspired by a friend of mine. He was ranting a little bit, so I wanted to help him. His girl broke up with him. He wanted to quit school. Uh, he thought he would never find someone else. So I'm like, why do men think like this? Like, if a girl break up with you, it's not the end of the world. Like, move on, do what you got to do. Go in
Yeah,
your cookie jar. Say, what have I done in my life that I've accomplished, overcame that I thought I could not have? So that's what this talk is about. Just getting into the, the just getting into it and dissecting it. So my first question for you, Nikolai, is like when what time in your life in a relationship have you let your ego get over you and in response to logic? Instead of thinking clearly, you just let your ego take over.
honestly, man, there's been plenty of points in my life so far I've allowed my ego to just override everything else that's going on in my life. I got examples from when I was really really young and probably needed like a real father figure in my life to show me that it's not the end of the world, just like how you let off with it. And at the same time, I've also done it when you fall into the bad habits and just say, this is how my life should be because I'm supposed to be this type of way. Um, my best example I could probably use would be, say, for instance, she shows up for you in very important moments of your life and you completely take it for granted right then and there. That's just your ego really speaking for you instead of like you taking a step back and saying, I might not be this great of a person I've envisioned myself to be, but because this person is giving me so much energy, you know what I'm saying, you take it the wrong way and just assume that I am this great figure when in reality, I'm just as normal as anybody else. A little
No,
bit of details with that one would be, she drives a couple hours to come see you every day. You know what I mean? Even when she's not supposed to. You know what I'm saying? Like a couple of us sailors have probably been there with, having somebody come to your barracks when they're not supposed to and all that. But I thought I was the ish for real. But obviously I was not.
I feel you. I can relate to that. So you got me having flashbacks right now. I'm like, dang, I
Yeah,
took them for granted. Like my ego. Like I'm like, yeah, they should be doing this, but why? That's not logical thinking. They didn't have to. They had a choice,
exactly.
and they say they come see me. I took it for granted. I didn't say thank you. But yeah, I feel you. Like sometimes we do that. I don't know why. I did it in a relationship too. I took her for granted. Like I just thought I was just perfect. I'm like, sure, I can't do no wrong. But nobody's perfect, so I know I'm lying. I know I'm
Exactly.
not perfect. But yeah, I feel you. But that's crazy. All right, but also, so I want to talk about how can you let your ego get ahead of you when it's involved alcohol? 'Cause, like that's a big thing in a lot of men life too. Like we might drink to overcome a problem. Like let's say our girl broke up with us. Now we're gonna overdrink. Like that's not the
Definitely.
right thing to do. Because now, what's that outcome gonna be? Shoot, you might go call her up, start ranting for no reason, go drive, go do something stupid. You might do a whole bunch of crazy stuff that you don't even
Uh,
know. You might even try to fight her because you drank too
yo,
much and you was angry because your emotions got in the way.
that's
So
right.
that's your ego. Like you're not even thinking logically. Oh, she broke up with me. Let me take a time to assess what did I do wrong. Assess how am I feeling and confront those feelings. Not just get a bottle, and that's the wrong way. You're not gonna learn anything from that.
That's
You're gonna learn how to make mistakes. That's it.
I wanna label it as early life mistake, but I've had many of examples in my life that I've watched to deal with situations like that. And even if it's not just about a partner in their life, it could just be a loss of a family member, you know, financial crisis, a loss of their own self image, which leads back to the ego talk. Um, my first example in life with that was watching my uncles behave that way. And I thought that's how you should behave as a man. You have to be able to hold your liquor and do all of that. And then, we all grow up and have that same, kind of small experiences with small influences in our life that extend from beyond our family now and come into our world through, friends, school, just daily pressures of, being on the street, feeling like you're almost grown. And I went that route for a really, really long time. And I hit it within myself a lot, especially once, I felt exposed, especially my first year in college. I felt so free. And I was just like, I got to drink everywhere I went. I had to drink when I was in the car. It didn't matter if it was a nice car, or if it was a hoopty. I would snatch the keys from, people that I thought were my friends. And I'm sure they should think the same way about me because I really wasn't being their friend. It was just a new world to me. And then, I had to have a bottle all the time. You know what I'm saying? I always had to think to myself, like, I got to buy, the biggest bottle, like, especially when, Grey Goose was the ish for me back in the day. It had to be Grey Goose. Had to buy some Douce, and then I had to buy Henny. And I thought to myself, like, if I could drink half of all of these, what I'm saying, or all of one of those bottles and still be able to walk and talk shit and dance, I'm a man. Like, how can I not be cool? And the entire time with all of that, I was actually hiding who I really was, which was just a person that I enjoy, quality time around people and good company. But because that's not what I was exposed to when I was younger, I adopted the behavior of just being that way and saying like this is how I had to be. And that's probably the best example of like how I allowed my ego to run every other aspect of my life to include alcohol that just derailed me, especially, in my current career field in the Navy, and trying to have like an established family and live, the best version of my life that I can.
But yeah, you tapped into something powerful. Your environment, like that will form like your behaviors, and that will change how you look at things, how you think, just because what you allow into your thoughts and what people tell you because of your environment. So what will you change? What will you tell yourself, young young Nikolai back then who was drinking so much? What will you tell him will be the right thing to do?
I mean, first of all, I probably punched myself in the face, but but I'd honestly probably tell myself in the past to take a step back and actually call my father. I kind of realized that what I was running after or really chasing was this idea that, in order for me to be man enough, I had to behave a certain way, right? But the underlying issue there was I didn't feel like I was man enough. So let me emulate what I saw around me. And to me, the better example would have probably been my father because I saw him drink when I was younger. But what I didn't remember when I blocked all that stuff out with, my own ego and other things I went through in life was the change that he made in his life, right? And it's not that he was a terrible person or anything like that. We all make mistakes in our life, and we can't blame our parents or everything around us. We got to take responsibility for it. And I missed that portion where he took responsibility for his life. He started to be more compassionate. He started going to church a lot more, 'cause, and he's still heavily, in the church right now. And he put the bottle down. Now, I'm not saying that he completely quit, but now that I'm older, I've been able to, have a sit down with him, have, one or two beers, and just like talk about life. But that's in person, and I was missing that portion when I was a lot younger. And I think, looking within myself, that's what I really wanted. And I was afraid to admit it. I was afraid to say it because I didn't see him express any care or concern for me, except for that small degree of what men are supposed to do, which is just be a provider and be a father. When in reality, like, I know damn well my dad loves me. And I know that he wanted to spend time with me and care for me, but I was too busy with, I got to pop bottles and be what I see men are around me, and not be like him and take a moment, to take a step back. You don't necessarily have to turn your life to God or anything else, but it's just about making the choice about choosing yourself and the better people around you. That's what I would definitely tell myself.
So this is off topic, but anyways, do you think it's trauma that may make people spiral out of control like that with alcohol? Like you said, like you seen in your family, and then that kind of like affected you for your life. Not like it's hereditary, but if the person did it before you, your father, then you're doing it. Do you think that has to do with trauma and you not confronting it? That kind of just led you to that path, and then you kind of realizing it, and then kind of slow down, then kind of got in control of your life.
For the most part, I want to say yes. I know you can't always blame trauma in your life for everything. It may be, a small cause to it, but at the same time, uh, at some point, you're no longer, off the hook for not taking any responsibility for your life in that degree. There's so many things that could happen to you in any person's life that could lead them to the bottle, or any other negative aspects that could just, you choose to ruin your life, quotation marks around that, because you might not completely ruin it because you always have a chance to fix it. But
True.
when
Facts.
I when I do think about trauma like that, uh, sometimes it's not as deep rooted as you think it is. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's just surface level, and you choose to make it deep rooted. Like for me, I chose to hold on to that aspect and say, well, I want I want to be like these men because I haven't been the cool kid. I was never the biggest, I was never the fastest or the strongest, and none of that. So I overcompensated in every other aspect. I saw volatile men in my neighborhood and people that I had around me. I copied their behavior, and in reality, the easier route, like I said, would have simply to be to watch how my father chose to change his life, because he was the same way. He's never the biggest, the fastest, or strongest, or anything like that. But one thing I've always consistently heard was my father was always the quietest man in the room, but he always had something important to say, and he was a man of few words. Now it's total opposite. I had to be the loudest, all this stuff, because I wanted to be seen. I wanted to be loud and boisterous and be big and bad. And it really didn't like lead me down any like proper path or lead me to anything fulfilling, until I chose to slow down, and I chose to look back and say, well, it wasn't just because of the lack of my father being more involved in my life, but I chose that. I chose to keep certain people on the outside of that. I chose to stop hanging out with all friends around me completely, and just clung on to the bottle because the bottle became my vice.
Yeah. So add on to that. Yeah, you're right. I don't think it's okay to blame it on trauma, but I believe like in every situation we're whole, but we have a whole bunch of impediments that we just need to take apart and to see where's the root coming from that problem. Like you said, your problem, um, maybe it was yourself, a part of your father, your environment. Because I kind of like tied into my situation, like when I kind of abused alcohol because I thought it was nasty growing up. Like I didn't want it. I seen people drink it, and I'm like, I tried it, I didn't like it.
I
And
fell
then
in
I
love with
joined
it,
like the
man.
military, and then I see everybody doing it in order to bond. They wanted me to drink this. In order to do this, hang out with them, they wanted to drink. So I'm like, it just became like everywhere. Like you had to drink at all times. So like I kind of learned late, kind of after like a couple of run-ins with the law, DUI, all those things. I kind of learned it was my environment, my surroundings. These are people who brought it to me, and I realized for me to stop, I have to like isolate myself from them. Find people who want to like have healthier habits. So that's how I kind of look at it. You just got to remove the impediments. It could be people, could be things, it could be anything. Things you watch on TV, music.
It took a long time to find that level of comfortability. I think that's the first thing that I kind of think about now that I'm a little bit older, and I'm choosing to stay away from it. And I'm even saying that now after I bought 2 bottles today, but I know myself I'm not gonna dive into those 2 bottles tonight. It's more of a celebratory thing. I'm gonna have some hang out with some people on the weekend, and I'll take our time. But the positivity from that circle is exactly that. We've all reflected on how we've been in our past lives and watched different people around us make those mistakes. So we know the first key is when we all show up, when we greet each other and all that, we put our keys in the basket, and we all announce, who's staying over, who's not having an actual drink and all of that. And it's a complete 180 from prior times in my younger life where you show up and your bottle's already half gone, and it's like a ha ha, you fist bump like, yeah, you're drinking like a man. And for me to really be honest, I think some of it could be a heavy cultural impact as well, especially growing up in Jamaica before coming here. My first time actually having alcohol, I was 9. I remember it because it was either my dad or one of his friends at a bar handed me a bottle of Heineken. And I don't really see a lot of Americans drink Heineken, but I don't know. I'm telling you, the German beers, I've always loved them. I liked it from the start because it was the first sign that I've received, especially as a little boy, that I was being accepted into like a circle of people. I wasn't really always like a cool kid, but at the same time, I didn't want to be a part of the kids. I always wanted to be wherever my dad was, or all my cool uncles that always had the nice cars, or they rode motorcycles, or they were always around women. And that's all the talk that I would hear all the time. But at the same time, you'd be shunned from the circle because I was still a child. So, it'd be like, you have to stay in a child's place. This is grown folks talk. But every now and then there was a little bit of acceptance if I was around and there was no other kids. It would be like, all right, don't tell your mother, don't tell your auntie I did this. But it influenced me to try to be a man way before I had to be, instead of just embracing the fact that I was a child and it was cool to be a child. And I'm sure a lot of us, reflect now and look back and be like, man, I'd give anything to probably be like 10 years old right now and not be paying no bills or work.
True facts, facts. I know I do.
I'm telling you, man.
But yeah, so one thing you said, drinking to celebrate. Like I don't know if you're a spiritual person, but I believe like if you're drinking with good energy, it's a better outcome. If you're drinking with negative energy, like you're alone, depressed, over a relationship, and and grief, that's probably the wrong time to be drinking. Because now
Hmm.
you're gonna have negative thoughts, you're gonna have negative actions instead of doing it celebrating. We have positive energy, positive thoughts, positive actions because all aligned. So I thought that was important. Yeah, I just wanted the
Absolutely.
audience to know that. Like that's critical. I believe all about spiritual energies and how it influence our actions, our minds.
To,
Yeah, so that's
to be honest, I've never really chosen the spiritual side of of thinking and feeling and being. I kind of rejected it very early on. Like I said, my father is in the church. My mother was heavily in the church from the moment I could remember putting on my first tiny little suit and going to church with my mom. And it was a little weird moment for me where I couldn't understand what all the hype was about and all the camaraderie and everything. And I had like, these internal fears of like, I don't know these people, but everyone wants to, be happy and hug and talk to each other and, and shake hands after the sermon and all this other stuff. It was a very overwhelming feeling. So as I got a little bit older, I started to reject it and step away from it, especially if I was kind of around like, the kids a little bit older than me. They've been in the church for a while and, they're not really buying into it. They're still children, but, they're in the back doing stuff they ain't supposed to do. Or they talk about like, oh, I did this in school and blah, 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 but it's cool because I could come to church on Sunday and I could pray it away and blah, blah, blah. Or I see my mom do this or my dad do this Saturday night, but you're in church Sunday morning praying it all away. So I viewed it as an opportunity to be, hypocritical without even realizing it. I just saw it as an opportunity where like, okay, I can take advantage of this and I could look my mother in the face, or I could go to church and look pastor in the face and say, yeah, I didn't mean to, I just thought it was fun at the time. So-and-so told me this, so-and-so told me that. And before I really tried to understand what the spirit of being in church or just being around good people was actually about, it was more so like an excuse to me. I didn't actually have value it, or when I was actually exposed to it. I just thought it was a joke. But here and now as an adult, I don't need a church environment or anything like that. And I even have friends that are more heavily into, believing in a deity, and some of us that are not. And we still click together because it's more spiritual now, like you let off with, because it's about giving off those good energies and making good choices. You know, um, the fact that we don't abuse the drink, and especially in our last meeting, like together, one person was just like, nah, man, I have to go do X, Y, and Z. And we're like, you don't have to. You can put the drink down, bro. We're choosing to have another one because we're staying here. None of us are leaving. We're not getting in a vehicle. That lessens our chances of getting in an accident, hurting somebody else. Like, we're here to just be in good company, man. Like, there's no pressure for you to do this, this, and this. And he was just like, then what's the point? And we're like, the point is so we can see you again, bro. So we can see you next time. Like, it doesn't all end here. And the facial expression that he made afterwards kind of like, it kind of like hit me a little bit, where I looked at him where like it clicked in his mind. You know what I mean? It took multiple of us saying a handful of kind words in the spirit of camaraderie and just spending time together to influence him that quickly, and for him to like actually grasp it. I'm pretty sure, in fact, the DARE program has probably been around, right? Where we were taught not to do drugs, not to drink, and all this other stuff. And those things didn't actually influence all of us. We wanted to go experience it before we decided whether or not we wanted to go do all these negative things, even though that was still in the spirit of being good. And it's in an environment like school or church or other places you want to feel those good things. I feel like it's just more about the delivery, and you're like, whenever you're ready to just accept that it's not just about God or whatever else you want to believe in, but in just the spirit of good things around you and good people.
Yeah, but that's powerful, especially those conversations with your friend, making sure they know that you care about them, that you care about the outcome, you want them to live, and that you actually weighing out the outcomes. Hey, if you drive, you can end up not coming back, may not be to see your family again, opposed
You
to,
know,
oh, you may make it home, but what are the probabilities of that? And telling them you care. Like, those are important conversations to be having. Just telling people you care. So now they're like more willing to slow down, not drive, give you their keys, shoot, go
absolutely.
lay on the couch.
It
But
took
yeah, yeah,
somebody
yeah.
else doing that for me to want to do that. I viewed it as like something weak, where I'm just like, nah, I can't stay over here. He probably wants to go lay down with this woman, or I look like a bum because I want to lay on the couch, or I'm not a man because I can't handle my liquor or whatever. You know, I'm I'm not 250 pounds of muscle and I could drink a whole fifth of Henny, like it took a lot for me to just accept that kind of good spirit around me and just accept like, yeah, I'm just a regular, 165-pound guy. A couple of drinks is all it takes, man. And, I'm going to take a seat and that's okay. It's okay. I'm with good people.
Yeah, that's amazing energy. That was me every 3 days, fifth of Henny. I thought I was bigger than life. I'm like, yo, I got this. But yeah, but that's not normal and that's not healthy. Not good for your mind, your body.
Absolutely
And you're
not.
definitely not gonna act right drinking all that. But
Oh,
yeah,
not at all. You got to
I talk
excuse my.
about
I'm sorry, man. He likes a lot of attention.
it's cool, it's cool. Yeah. So yeah, I was talking about spiritual because like I believe like as far as a spiritual being, like we all have a purpose. That's why I'm big on spiritual health. Because if you don't know your purpose, then what are you living for? Like I just learned that myself what I wanted to do. Like sometimes we'll like if somebody say who you are, you may just say what your job is instead of
Yeah,
describing you as a person. So now you're labeling yourself this job. Now what if that job goes away? Who are you?
and you have no meaning.
That's what most people do. So that's why I think spirituality is important. Like what is your purpose? Who are you outside of your job? Like are you strong, courageous? Like what
Mm.
what what are you?
You
So
getting into
that's
some
important to
deep
me.
stuff.
That's
I'm
why
telling you,
I
you
do a
getting
lot
into
of
something
things what
deep.
I do now. Like I just learned that like last year. I'm like, what am I on this earth for? What do I want to do? Like, what does God want me to do? How can I help people? What am I good at? Well, what can make me money too? But yeah, it's like that all goes together. Like I'm like, it's important.
That's a, you touching on something deep right there, man. So easy, but finding purpose was something that I struggled with for a really, really long time, and exposure to good people is helping me figure that out and find that journey. I don't want to say that I've completely found it, but I feel like I'm actually making progress in that right direction. And it's funny that you mentioned what are you without your job, and that hit the nail right on the head for me because up to maybe 3-4 years ago, all I was to myself first and foremost is how I described myself to other people was just a sailor. I'm a submariner. I'm a cook. You know, and I wanted to
I don't want to
portray
interrupt
myself
you, but yeah, that's what they tell us a lot too. They're like,
exactly.
this is what you are. You're this property. They give you all these words, and now you're just consuming it, absorbing it, taking it in. Now you believe it. Like they did that to me. Like, oh, do 20. You're our property. Don't hurt yourself. You belong to us. This is who you are.
Absolutely.
Like it's crazy. So yeah, I'll let you. What were you saying?
I was gonna pretty much just open up with that kind of heavy influence can make or break a lot of people, right? I used to use the term make or break a lot of sailors, but that's just my singular perspective. And I'm sure there's a lot of sailors that could match that, right? Or Marines, or soldiers in the Army, or people that are in the Coast Guard, or people in the Air Force. But now that I've broadened, my vision on all of that, you can apply that same kind of feeling to so many different, companies, places of business, whether they're personal businesses or just, major corporations. But I genuinely just felt like that was all I was because it was the pinnacle of what I thought my life would be. So I was chasing the fantasy of I'm going to do 20 years. I want to be, the best chief there ever was. I want to be the best cook on this boat. And it was all great motivation internally that I had, but it was fueled by, negative desires. I was craving like this idea of power and all this other stuff because of what I was exposed to and what I saw around me. And that fed the negative side of my ego. Now I changed a little bit before I had left, my seagoing command, and I wanted to change the concept of how we treated the new guys coming to the boat and the FSAs. And I'm sure some people would probably tell you, I still didn't change that much, but sometimes you have to be a little bit more stern because not everyone adjusts well. And sometimes you have to, pull back on the reins and relax. I didn't learn those things until I had, like a good mentor or a good leader around me. And I struggled to find that or open my eyes to see the few that were around me, regardless if they were in my division or not. So all I did was hold on to that identity of what I was given from the get go of trying to be the best. And the only way to be the best is to step on everyone else to climb my way up. And then, it's worth it. Just sacrifice everything and just do that 20 until you meet somebody in your life that can show you different. But at the same time, hurt people hurt people. So even though I had a good person like that come into my life and try to influence me to say exactly what we're talking about right now, like what is your purpose? How can you become better? What can you give back to the world? Because you're here now. I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know what to do with that awkward feeling because I've been in this comfort zone for so long and this is what I am. It was coming to an end so quickly. And I had all the, influences in my ear, like, oh, you're gonna go out, you're gonna be a homeless sailor, you're a young black man, ain't much out there for you. They gonna shoot you, they gonna kill you, they gonna do all this, right? And then same thing, like, oh, I did 20, it was worth it. I have a beautiful wife, 3 kids, we got these many houses, these many cars, and they don't tell you what's behind all of that. They don't tell you about the missed birthdays. They don't tell you about the, missing graduation ceremonies, missing pivotal moments in your child's life. The first time they turn 13, they're a teenager now. They hit puberty. They have questions to ask you, being at their games, being with their wife, celebrating anniversaries, the smaller things in life those are the things that actually make up who you are. You know what I mean? And that might be a small thing. And then boom, you start doing things for your kids and your wife. And you might find your dream job or something else like that. Or maybe your dream job is just being a part of that person's life because it's not just about the money. I was chasing the money and the fantasy of all that power, and it just fed my ego. It didn't feed my spirit. It didn't feed anything else. And on top of that, to, squash down, some deep, dark desires and bad feelings I had about myself, especially when I was severely depressed. It was the only time, liquor ever tasted that good. I was feeding that inner demon. And, to me, I was on beast mode. I was super young. I could bounce back. I didn't get hangovers. And I felt like, the mother effing man. But in reality, it was tearing me apart, and I was tearing apart somebody in my life that was heavily influential to me. And it didn't matter that she didn't live the same life as me and go out to sea and have the same perspective, because that's what I was actually yearning. I was yearning the desire to be around good people that understood who I am as a person to the world and ultimately who I really am on the inside.
But yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, you're right. Like that, people they will tell you what they want to tell you, and then
Absolutely.
withhold other things to mold you into what they want you to be, instead of letting you become what you want to be based on your thoughts, your beliefs, um, and just what you find important about yourself. Like for example, myself, I like helping people. All right, what else? What do I like to do? I like working out. So I kind of, but a part is working out. I like nutrition, mindset, uh, personal training. So I try to put it together. I'm like, how can I help somebody become the person they want to do? They want to get better in their health, their fitness, their mindset, because it's about positive thinking. You can't be negative and want a positive outcome. It just doesn't
Mhm.
work that way. I've done that so many times, and my anxiety goes up, and it might be something small, but why? Like, if you can't control it, don't worry about it.
Yeah, if it's
Like,
out
you
of your
just
hands, you got to
control
let
what
it
you can
go.
control. So, like, that's how I kind of find my purpose. I'm like, what do I love to do? How can I give value to people? I can help them work out. I can give them advice. I can talk to them as accountability partner. I like talking to people. I like meeting people. I like hearing their story. I like telling them I care and I want to see how I can help. Because sometimes people just want someone to listen to them. They may
Hmm.
want feedback because they can't ask themselves the right questions. Because let's say you have a bunch of problems and I have a bunch of problems. You can see all my problems clearly, but you're probably not going to see all your problems. It's probably going to take you a while because you gotta move everything, move impediments, like remove everything. Take your time, but you can see everything I'm doing. Like it's easy to judge someone else, but it's hard to judge yourself.
Exactly.
That's why I wanted to help people as far as accountability partner, because now I can be like, "What are you doing?" Talk to them, and then I can give them my feedback. Oh, this is what you're doing. This is what I suggest, and you should have this result. I want to help them get that end result, which is the most important, so they can be happy. That's make me happy. So that's what I think about purpose in that kind of way, and
Something
then
that
just trying
fills
to
your
give value
cup.
to people in different ways, helping them overcome things. Because that's what we're on this earth for. It's not about money; it's about helping people. And then on the and if it's profitable, you may make money, but that shouldn't be the goal. It should be to help people, give value to people, be a servant to people. But yeah, that's
That's, that's what I'm starting to realize that it's all about. It's, the more that I choose to open myself up now, and I guess take down these walls that I put up that I thought would protect myself, which in reality it was isolating myself. I found it a lot easier to just connect to people because we're all just human beings. We're all just people. We might not all agree. We might not all get along, but the end results that I'm starting to see so far in my journey, and I know it's not completely at an end because now I'm on a better trend of how to treat myself and treat others around me. The results are starting to actually assist me in becoming a better person, feeling more fulfilled, even in the smallest of things. Like for instance, being nicer to people around me has brought me into this space where I've kind of realized that I'm not that much alone when it comes to certain things that I think about
hold
and
on.
certain things.
I wanna ask you something. Two questions I got. Why do you
Mhm.
think we build walls instead of expressing ourselves? Why do you think men do that a lot? I did it a lot, but I want to hear your opinion.
Ooh.
Why do you think we build walls instead of being vulnerable? You think it because we don't want to be weak, because we're afraid of what
Absolutely.
people will think around us, and should we care about what other people think? Like, what's your
So that's a double-edged sword, right? That's a double-edged sword because I feel genuinely the immediate answer that most of us give is that we don't want to be perceived as
is
weak,
that?
right? And that's the first thing that your ego does. Your ego challenges everything around it to figure out whether or not, like, can I make myself to appear superior than the person I'm interacting with or this crowd of people, so that when they view me, my ego feels fulfilled. Uh, I know for myself, some of the childhood trauma that I've had, I immediately put up walls because I was raised under the conditions that children are to be seen and not heard. And I know personally, one on one, our interactions have increased in frequency, and I'm pretty sure you can tell I'm a pretty talkative guy, but that's who I really am. Before, I used to turn all of that off to make people think I was quiet and mysterious because growing up, a talkative guy was somebody that was considered feminine, or I don't even want to even say this, but they were considered gay. I, I can go on with the list of like negative things, but in reality, I've seen some of the most influential and more positive men, even men that have made mistakes and then come out and apologize for it, in the the celebrity field or inspirational talk field or doctors or whatever. When they have their moments to speak to people and connect to people, they're the most talkative. But it's not about always having the person's attention while you're talking. It's about how you influence them and what you're actually saying. So I didn't learn to lower my wall and be okay with talking. I learned that I had to raise it and, and pick and choose when to talk, because I never know when I'm going to be met with, a bombardment of insults that, I just got to say it in Pato because that's how it's playing in my head. But, I would hear all the time, you chat too much, you act like a gal, and that kind of just like roughly translates to, you talk too much, you're acting like a girl. And that was immediate impact to my masculinity as a boy, because I'm being told how I'm expressing myself isn't appropriate. I have to be like what I see around me. I have to be like my dad. I have to be like all these things. Later on, I grow up around those same people that tell me why, they ask me, why aren't you talking? Why aren't you opening up? You're not telling us about anything. We haven't spoken to you in months. You don't come around. Or when we're at social events with family, hey man, why are you just in the corner so quiet? Just, drinking, a couple glasses of rum. Like, you think you're too important now? It's just a double-edged sword, because it's
True.
either, you do too much and you're weak, or you don't do anything at all. And then now you're not placing them at an important spot in your life. And it just immediately challenges your manhood.
All right, I'm gonna throw another twist to you. How do you think that applies to relationships? You do too much or you do too less. How can that be bad or good?
Man. So as
This
a
is
person,
this is not for me. This is for that guy who I'm trying to give this knowledge to, who
a
is
different
going through
person,
some
a
things.
different perspectives is for everybody, man. You can always stand to learn something. I learn stuff every day. Uh, Perfect example. I will not disclose anything that went on in this counseling session for other people, but for confidentiality. But from what I've learned in it today, we had to play a role today for the entire session. Once we started the session, you had to play the person that you were either in a relationship with or currently in a relationship with. And that was one of the most difficult things, because then you see the other side of it. I had to genuinely care and think about what the other person was feeling and going through with me. And I analyzed every moment where I either felt like I was too much, or I genuinely was doing too much, or the moments where I chose to do the silent treatment and give nothing at all, or pretend that I don't care and give nothing at all. All the meanwhile, all four of those, possible scenarios are ways to behave within a relationship, tearing me up inside, because at the end of the day, I'm human. Uh, in my opinion, there's no such thing as doing too much now, because I've come to this place with my thoughts and my mindset that if you feel that I am doing too much, all it takes is a simple expression of something, And I think a good example for us would be every day we're at work. Let's say you stay on duty 3 times a week. 16 hours, you're tired, you come home, you have no energy to do, much of anything. You just want to come home, kick your boots off, sit for a little bit, maybe have a beer or put on the kettle and make some tea, right? And then you shower, and then you come back out the room. But that's your version of decompressing, right? Maybe to your partner, decompressing to her might be you come in, you kick your boots off. It doesn't matter if you shower right away or not, because she embraces you for who you are, right? Hopefully. And you sit there and you tell her about your day, but you might not function that way, right? But if you don't understand each other, then you're just missing each other all the time. And then it turns into, oh, why doesn't he talk to me? He doesn't tell me anything. And then it turns into, why does she always nag me, 2 hours later after I came home, or like the first 5 minutes I come through the door, when that might not even be the case. It could just be as simple as, hey, babe, let me decompress for a couple hours and take my boots off, shower. I'm going to sit here, play video games with the boys. You know, I'll tell you about my day in a few. Or you compromise and you flip it. You talk to her right when you come in the door. She puts the tea on for you, or she grabs you that beer, or vice versa. You could be the male spouse in the relationship, and she could be in the military, and you just miss each other that very same way. She don't want to hear nothing when she come through the door. She just had a long, crappy day working in the engine room or wherever, right? But the too little portion, that's true. You could definitely do very too little in a relationship, and it can leave the other person unfulfilled as well as yourself, because then now you're just not giving any effort, because let's say you're going tit for tat. I've been that type of person before. You're not speaking to me today, that I won't talk to you at all. Like I said, I'm talkative, but I genuinely have an okay side where I'm cool with not interacting or talking at all. I'll chill. I'll sit in the room. I play Destiny or Madden or 2K or whatever all day, or I'll watch my Netflix shows or Hulu and not say nothing, scroll on my phone, do whatever, and I'll match the energy. Whole time, I know for myself as a human, I do want to speak to you. I do want to interact with you. It doesn't matter if I feel, oh, this is about to be negative. I'm choosing to ignore you. I'm choosing to not pour into your cup. And now you're not pouring into mine. It just goes back and forth, back and forth. It's like a boring tennis match.
That's
Nobody
deep.
wants to see something like that.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. Communication. Yeah, I want to add on to another question that you brought up. Being nice to people. I think that's valuable
Very.
because, like, what I do, like how we met, like, shoot, that could have like never happened. Like, I could have been rude. You could have matched the energy, and we could have just gone our separate ways. I just find it valuable connecting with people because you never know how that person is. You may like help them, like make them smile, um, improve their day, and you just build a relationship. Like it's all about networking, meeting people, showing people you care. That's valuable. And like I was saying, especially what I do without my brand, like people buy from me not because they like my clothes or they really care about the logo. They buy from me because they like me as a person and what I
You're very
represent.
personable.
They buy
That's
my
true.
story and how I interact with them. Someone tell me, "Hey, you're humble. That's why I want to buy from you. Like I like what you're doing. You're not rude with it. Like you selling all this stuff, but you're not changing up. You stayed consistent. You're humble." I was like, I didn't know what to say. I was speechless. I was like, "Oh, thank you.
Sometimes it's as simple as thank you.
Appreciate that." Yeah.
That,
So
that's
yeah, I value
gratitude.
being nice to people. You never know how that result going to be. The outcome of that. Anybody. Shoot, a stranger on the street, co-worker, shoot, a bar, shoot, somebody might be doing well. You might just say, "Hello, how are you doing? What's wrong?" Show you actually care. They
Yeah.
might like, want to tell you something, not they feel better.
You can even avoid confrontations that way as well.
Yeah.
Um, the being nice thing genuinely was very difficult, because I, I I like to think I'm a very nice person, and I'm undoing a lot of how I was, because I tried to erase that from myself for a very very long time, and it's like fighting who you really are. It's gonna be really really difficult, because I've been a decently nice person most of my life, but I chose to adapt to how I was. My first time in school, when I came here to the US, my very first week, I got robbed. They took my jacket, they took my book bag. I went home in a t-shirt and, my jeans. They even took my Metro card, and I was just a kid. And that very first interaction with what school in America was like, it changed me instantly. I instantly went home. I didn't want to express myself to my moms, none of that. And I've had family members ask me for years after that, like, what happened to the nice kid that we knew? You were always so open and willing to, be helpful. happy, joyful, you dance, love to make people laugh. And I tried to erase that from myself. And I realized that it brought a lot of confrontation into my life because I chose to match energy when sometimes it wasn't necessary. I guess maybe the message of turn the other cheek. I didn't always believe in it because I think to myself, that nice kid, I'm getting punched in the face just because I had a Caribbean accent. This was '03 when I got here, only a couple of years after 9/11. So if you sounded different, it didn't matter what you look like. You didn't have to have a turban on your head or be Islamic or anything like that. If you was different in Brooklyn, you was getting punched in the mouth just because. And that's how it was. And it made me not want to be nice. But as an adult, it brings you a lot of negative energy and way larger consequences in life. Especially, being as a young black man, uh, it's hard to be nice when you don't want to be because of what you're fearful of. But that's probably the better choice, right? Because I've heard that saying before, when you're afraid of something, that's when you know you're doing something right because you're choosing to face it head on. And I know that could be circumstantial, but I chose to be nice after realizing like I didn't want to be like that anymore. It was too exhausting. It brought too much negativity in my life. I had to spend way more energy keeping up all these different versions of myself and all these different walls and falling into this masculinity trap of lying on my name, lying on, what type of women I wanted to be with and the girls I had around me. And it was just a huge negative and nasty snowball effect. And I think the best example could probably be how, we interacted first and foremost. You just plainly asked me if I was interested in something. I told you sure, but I'm not, I don't know. But you didn't try to like sell me anything. You weren't aggressive with it. You were just friendly. You were just like, okay, I was just wondering because I'm trying to do this, blase, blase. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Okay. And you told me about your product. You told me what your vision was and all this other stuff. And I didn't have these negative thoughts and negative feelings because I was in a different place. If you'd have caught me 5 years ago, I'd have told you F you straight up. I told you F you. I don't care about your shirt, your logo. I would have thought of so many stuff to try to tear you down to make myself and my ego feel bigger and badder. But I feel way more connected. I feel happier knowing that one, I supported somebody that's, just like me, just another human being in the world trying to make something of himself, you know. And number two, I'm to myself personally, I feel like I made a genuine connection with somebody that reminded me of what I can actually be in the world. So a long time ago, I thought I wanted to do the whole podcast thing too and make funny videos. But because of my behavior, and the things that I was responsible for in my life, not a lot of people supported me. And I viewed that as, oh, they're just hating on me. And like you said, it's hard to look at yourself. When you have all these problems, you could see everyone else's problems, but you can't see yours. And my problem was genuinely, I was just not being nice. I thought I was nice, but I wasn't. I was a complete douchebag, man. They brought me nothing but negativity and people that didn't want to support me or be around me.
But yeah, that's important. Like, shoot, look at me. I got all these tattoos. Shoot, let me be rude. People afraid to talk to me. Like, I used to have people were afraid to come like talk to me. Like, oh man, this thing got all his tattoos, just judging me by a book by its cover. But yeah, but I didn't have like the best energy before. I just wanted to be the best. Like, I was stepping
Yeah.
on people's toes to get where I wanted, not thinking about others. And I'm like, just now recently, I just try to change that. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Why am I doing this to people? Like, I had a talk with a friend a week ago, because like we were on the boat. I would call out everybody else just to make myself look good, better than them. And then this other guy followed in my footsteps and did the same thing when I left. I'm like, yeah, we can't be doing that. We gotta grow. Like, don't do what I did. I did it the wrong way. I don't want you to do that. You got to be
Yeah.
nice. Like, if people like you, they will support you. they will encourage you. They will follow you. They don't want to. People don't want to follow people they don't like, and the people who are rude to them. Like if somebody
Yeah.
talking about me, like belittling me, I'm gonna be like, nah, I ain't about to mess with you. I'm
It's
gonna walk away. Like I
it's a
ain't with that.
sketchy path though.
Huh?
That route, when I think about it, it could kind of be sketchy, right? Because if you're not being honest or real with, that intention, a lot of people could feel that energy. They could feel it in their spirit, like, "Oh, you're just choosing to be nice here and now to get this and that out of me." And maybe the business world can be cutthroat like that, but since I kind of behaved like that, you can see it. That whole saying, "It takes one to know one." I didn't feel that at all, and as I try to navigate the new version of the world that I'm starting to see and discover, and go through it in a genuine way, I'm
Yeah.
receiving more genuine feedback. And sometimes it's harsh. Some people are like, "Oh, now you want to change, da 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 da," and it's okay, because I realized they wouldn't want to tell me this if I didn't do anything wrong to them, or if I didn't approach them wrong or treated them wrong, and they're more than free to give me that feedback, because I have to be real. If I'm choosing to be like this and actually want to be this thing, then you got to be open to seeing the opposite side and the repercussions of how you behaved prior to that.
That's about to be my quote for the show. Genuine. Are you really being genuine when you're being nice? Because I used to be nice, but it wasn't genuine. I'll be nice because I wanted people to like me or I wanted something from them, not
Hmm.
because I actually cared or I wanted to make a bond. So that's crazy. Like sometimes you don't know. Like I used
But
to do
that's
that.
life,
I'm
though.
not gonna lie. I did that with women. Like I'll be nice and I'm like, do I really care or do I not care? I say I care, but deep down I don't care.
Or do you just care enough to get to where you want to get with certain things without considering anything? And an older person in my life right now told me something that made me reconsider how I approach a lot of stuff in my life now. And it's even though you don't want to use other people, that's the point of life. Everything uses something, right? It's how you choose to go about it and respect that exchange. Every exchange we have in life is a reward based thing. We all, you and I go to the bar tonight. One of us has to be the DD. Yeah, so one of us is choosing the reward of, all right, I get driven around tonight. I could splurge. I could drink if I want to. Then you pick and choose what women you want to talk to in there and how you're going to choose them. That exchange of what you want to get out of it. Maybe you flip it. We both choose not to drink and just have genuine conversations. See what happens, and it'll change your world, because sometimes that's all it is. Because I know you would feel some type of way if the roles were completely reversed, and all of a sudden you start getting treated that way. You're gonna look at it and be like, "Yo, hold up! You don't actually consider how I feel, how I look at myself. Like, I'm a person. Things matter to me." And all of a sudden now you're like, "Oh, now it makes sense to you because it's happening to you." You know what I mean? So when he told me that everything in life is an exchange, and it's how you choose to respect the way that you go about it, it changed everything.
It's true, true. Just like business, people exchange money for value. So like me consulting somebody as a health coach, they give me money for value that I can help them. Like everything's an exchange, like you said. Yeah, that's crazy. That's a nugget right there.
Yeah. It took somebody with years of experience to drop that on me, right? And I,
Yeah, that's growth. That's growth. Life is about unlearning and relearning. Like sometimes you have to unlearn things that like didn't help you at all or is not helping you. But yeah, that's crazy. But I got a couple questions for you.
all
End this
right.
show off with, I wanted to ask you, What is your purpose in this world?
Oof. I'm gonna have to go. We gotta skip this one. We gotta come back to it. We gotta
Come
come
back to
back
it. All
to it.
right, I'm gonna come back.
Yeah, I gotta really think about that
All
one.
right. What relationships have you had to cut off to grow?
Oh man, Mama, I love you, but the first one, I had to make a choice between my personal growth and my mom. And being a young man now that was raised in a single mom's home, even though my father was somewhat in my life, he had a different role. For the most part, it was kind of forced upon him. I had to cut my mom off because I had a lot of resentment, and you know, I envisioned and pictured her to be a certain type of way. And once I started to take those filters down and see her for, who she was at the time, I couldn't sit with it. I wasn't ready for it, and she was the most important person in my life. But I realized by having her constantly there, I did not learn true accountability for myself. She was always a crush that I could easily call. Even though I didn't make it frequent, I started to distance myself very quickly because, it took me a while to get out of that. I'm a man, I got to do this, that, and the third. But as soon as I would fall down, I could just call mama, right? And that's okay. I Everything is different now that I'm in a better headspace with all of that. But that was the first one. I had to choose to cut my mom off because there was a lot of unhealthy habits that we had formed between each other, and a lot of things that went on in the household that I couldn't let go of yet, and I had to relearn a lot of things about myself, life, boundaries, and what actually what accountability really actually is. Because if you can't hold yourself accountable, you're not ready to turn and hold another person accountable, because now at that point you're a hypocrite.
That's what's up. Before I get to the next question, I just talked to my cousin about that. We were having a conversation, like we are having a real conversation. Like he gave me a nugget. Like he's he does competition, like bodybuilding competition. He's like,
Mhm.
"Hello, how come you won't do this?" I'm like, "I don't got that mindset yet to do that, to accomplish that. I'm not where you are." He was like, "Right, just all about prepping." And I'm like, I don't want to be in front of the stands competing with those people. He was like, don't worry about the people. You're not competing with them. You're competing with yourself. When I go in there, I don't worry about who's beside me, who's behind me, who's to the right, left. I'm only looking at what I've did, because the real competition is during the prep, when you're preparing for life or preparing for the competition. That's when you're going against yourself. You're not in competition with no one but yourself. I was like, yo, that's crazy. I never thought about it like that. I shouldn't. Don't worry about winning or losing. Just worry about giving it your best, and just if you don't win, say you gave it your all. So I'm like, yeah, that's growth. That was she just made me think of.
It's true.
Yeah, my third question. I know you're hurt, but what were your favorite workouts to stimulate your mind and your body?
I kind of wait. I've been waiting for this one. So as as a guy that struggled with trying to get big for a long, long, long time, like, man, I ain't hit puberty till I was like 16. Like, I was a late bloomer, man. Uh, I love the incline chest press. I love it. I love it. Incline bench press, because it was the most challenging one for me. And I'm glad that you brought up the fact that I'm currently hurt. And that right there was the key for me to understanding to challenge myself. I didn't know I was hurt. I didn't have the knowledge to understand the intricacies of muscle groups and how they work together. And it didn't matter about the big ones that you can see. It was about preparing the small ones, right? And a lot of those times I would think, I finally made it. I'm 20 years old. I could put up 200 or whatever on flat bench. How can I not do 200 on the incline? And I was ego lifting. I was like ashamed, like, man, I'm only putting up 125. But once I realized that I was hurt, I embraced the smaller muscle groups, and that changed everything for me. I started to do the isolated ones where I could just do 5-10 pounds and work on my actual motion and my form. And I started to see my arms shake, different smaller areas of my muscle groupings twitch. And I was like looking at myself while I was in physical therapy, like, man, I'm so soft. And I was like, where did that negative thought come from? Where is the young motivated Nico? And I felt of like a huge rush of like good energy and spirit where I'm just like, he never left. He just got older and hurt himself because he didn't know any better. But now I know better, and now I know I can actually be better, but not for the visions of other people, but for what I want to see in the mirror and how I want to see in the longevity of my own life, and to see my body become bigger and stronger. Uh, and to be honest, this one I hate to say it, but I love running. I know not a lot of people consider it a workout, but
I
the
disagree. It is. It's
that
hard. You
cardiovascular,
gotta
that
train.
card.
You gotta practice. You gotta train those muscles, your leg muscles, your quads, stretching a lot so you don't get
Hmm.
cramps. Like it's important, and it's a great workout because you're testing your mindset.
Yeah,
Let's say 5 miles is your limit. Like that's the best you ever done. How hard do you think it would be to do 6 miles? You gotta trigger it. You gotta like find like that thought that's gonna propel
you got
you
to
to hit
tell that
6.
inner monologue to shut up, because I remember since I was yay high, a lot of better and more influential family members I had before the family grew apart, and life changed for a lot of us. Used to tell me I came out of the womb running, right? And then there's that big, heavily influence, like, hey man, you got Jamaican genes in your body. You're a track star. You can do all these things. And I could never be faster than my baby sister. My sister Steph was always faster than me. Always. Maybe not now, she a mom now and everything, and I could probably dust her ass, but you know, that that right there, I went back to a lot of those memories once I stepped away from trying to ego lift and just slowly take care of myself. I haven't heavily practiced it. Every now and then I might go for like, a quick little jog, or I drive to a different park, or just step out in the backyard actually and chase this four-legged baby I got over here. And it feels so much better to know that I'm still capable of doing it. And I think about how quickly, I could hear in my head like, all right, that's enough. That you've been running around with him for like an hour, and I'll think back like an hour would be nothing to a kid that's playing, pick up basketball or football. It's all still running, and you play tag with all your friends, and you don't even think about how you're actually activating so many different muscle groups, and you feel all those good endorphins and happy, hormones running through your body. And in reality, excuse me, that you're just actually working out.
And that's the importance of having fun when you do it too.
Yeah.
Like my fourth question is, what's your favorite food to make your body feel better? So when I say this, I mean like a food that nourishes your body.
This one would have to probably be my mom's chicken soup.
Chicken soup.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. So uh without cheating, this is the best part too. Without cheating, she would use boiled water, cut up carrots, celery. Maybe you can add other additional vegetables you want. Always always adds potatoes with the skin on it. I don't know what it is about red potatoes and the skin, but takes me back, man. It takes me back. Or the regular potatoes as well. And then the chicken would be baked. She wouldn't fry any of it. It wouldn't be boneless. It would be the bone-in chicken. She'd probably get like a good, I want to say, 6 pounds of chicken quarts, and she would take the cleaver, and I would watch her, and she would chop it. She would either take the skin off or keep it on. It depends on my mood. And I've copied her and I've made it a few times myself. You bake it just enough to where the chicken is starting to cook. You take it off the tray and you place it into the soup pot. And you add your potatoes, you add your seasonings, and you would just load it up. And it wouldn't be with anything crazy or crazy unhealthy seasonings or nothing. Maybe a little bit of like sea salt, stuff like that. A couple Scotch bonnet peppers for like a little bit additional heat, and just let it go. All the nutrients from the vegetables goes into the broth. The chicken changes a little bit in color. The color of the broth starts to change, and it has that typical like yellow hue that you get from like buying chicken broth in the boxes at Walmart and stuff like that. And it actually seeps into it. The bone marrow from the chicken comes out into the soup and all that. And as crazy as it sounds, like I would wax like 4 bowls just of straight soup. I would feel like Superman. You know, there was a point where I was cracking them bones open and getting the marrow out of it. It was that good, and I felt that strong. I've never loved vegetables more than those moments, man. Like raw vegetables, I'm gonna tell you, like I know I'm supposed to, but if you put it in a soup, I'm eating everything.
At least you found one way to consume it. I got one more question. How are you improving your financial health every day?
That one is honestly, I didn't make the choice. The coronavirus made the choice for me. Uh, the corona thing happened directly after I left alcohol rehab. One of my biggest spending habits was alcohol, and I know I mentioned it earlier today. I got a couple bottles, but it was celebratory, and I don't view it as a bad spending habit now because it's not for me to consume to quench my desires, to feel like a bigger man, or hide my depression from other people. But right after I left rehab, I couldn't really go anywhere. I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't feel excited. I didn't want to go karaoke in because if I went karaoke in, the only way to get Nico to come out of his shell, and not have such heavy social anxiety, I got to drink so I can have that liquid blanket of courage. But, I stopped doing that. I stopped going to little events and stuff like that with friends, whether or not it was like a little music concert or stuff like that. So here and now, I tell myself the new video game that comes out, do I really want to play it? Or do I just want to feel connected to everyone else around me that wants to play it? You know, some new sneakers that comes out. I'm not a huge sneakerhead, but I have some shoes in my closet, but I couldn't tell you the names of them. I didn't buy them because they were popular. I bought them because I liked them. And I didn't realize how much I had until I started to look at my spending habits, because it was almost every 2 weeks or so when I was heavily influenced by other people around me, I would go buy new shoes just because I wanted to wear them to the bar to feel like I'm the man. Uh, the car situation. You've seen the vehicle that I drive around today. It's the first vehicle in my entire life that my name has been on the title, and I own it. But I've had people tell me like, "Damn, I thought you was this, that, and the third, and you driving in that." In the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, "Hell yeah, I'm driving in it. I own it. I made the personal choice. Instead of chasing after a fancy car, I could be, I can be better by making, making myself work on this vehicle, learn about actual vehicles because I didn't really know much about it. Previous relationship, her father taught me how to change oil and take care of this stuff. And I would look at him like, why would I do that when I could go buy this new thing? And he was just like, you gonna buy it and then bring it where? To somebody else that you have to pay to fix it. And it started to click, but I didn't actually use that knowledge till later on in my life. I did have a nicer vehicle, but unfortunately, I was in an accident that wasn't my fault, but it totaled my vehicle. But I didn't value the car. The car was just a fancy tool to me. I knew nothing about it. I didn't care about my oil. I didn't care about rotating tires or nothing like that. So making those small choices in my life now and choosing to, is this actually important, or do I actually or do I just want it? I make those small choices like pretty much every day. And
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy, especially with our work. Like, we'll buy things so people will like us more, so we can
yep.
impress other people. So we
I
can
got
be
one
like,
more little
yo,
thing
we got
too.
this.
I
Yo,
got one
check
more
me
little
out.
thing
Like,
too.
why? And then you look at your account, like, why did I put my money in this when I could have put it here, save it for this, should do some type of business venture?
I
It's
almost
something.
lost a lot of money trying to force my way into investing too when I didn't really know much about it. Especially the whole crypto craze thing. That was another one too. Eventually, I learned enough to tread water, and then I did my best to make back all the money I lost, and I came out on a heavy positive side of it. And it was a perfect time for me to do it because I looked at myself and I said, I got lucky here. I'm going to pull out of this and try the investing thing when I learn more about it instead of just throwing my money away trying
You
to
don't,
keep
you
up with
know,
everybody.
yeah, you don't want to follow the wave. I did the same thing and I lost a lot of money. I had to figure out what's my lane, what I want to do, what do I want to invest my time to learn more about. Just like my business, like I could have gone the right way. So, like for example, I got my LLC. I trademarked my name because I don't want to steal it. I got my DUNS number, but I didn't get any business credit. I thought it'd be smarter to use my money, which you don't want to do it. So it's just learning the tricks of the trades, doing that. I was talking to yeah, I was talking to another coworker about financial health. I think he was like 38. I was just talking to him. He was like, I don't know what to do with my money. I'm like, how about you do Airbnb? He was like, I never thought about that. 'Cause, like, there's just so many ways to do it. You can do stocks, like you said, crypto. You can do housing, flipping houses. That's why I think it's so important to know who you're hanging out with. Like, what are y'all spending your money together? Like, you're gonna go out all the time, spend money on alcohol. How about get a group of friends, buy a house, at least put down a down payment because you don't have to buy out the whole purchase price, and then you can rent out the rooms. Like, it's just different things you can do. Start a
Yep.
business, something like, what is this guy good at? What is he good at? What is his area? Should come together, make a business. Like, yeah, like it's all about financial health right now, especially with COVID. You had to open your eyes because you're like, yo, what's going on? So yeah, that's crazy. But yeah. Like, I appreciate that. I appreciate you opening up, coming on my show. I had a blast with you, Nico. It was
Got to go back to that question we skipped, man.
yeah. Oh, what is your
I ain't gonna let you
purpose
down.
in
I
this
ain't gonna let you
world?
down, man.
Yeah, I want to know.
So I've done a lot of thinking about that one. I'm gonna keep it like pretty quick and short. Uh, I've heard it too many times throughout my life how quickly I can talk to people and influence them. I'm good with my words and I'm a good motivator, and I've chose to not believe in myself and think that I could be a leader. There's plenty of times, I might not have been the best at everything, and I really opened up with that one for real, for real. Like I wasn't the strongest, the fastest, and I'm definitely not the smartest, right? But there was something that I found within myself when I was younger. If I saw someone else struggle, it could be mid race. I want to win, but I'd probably stop. I know my younger self. My younger self would stop mid race and be like, "Oh man, he fell. I'm gonna scoop him up, and we gonna finish this race together." Because it wasn't about winning when I was younger. It was about the moment that I was sharing with people. I only learned about choosing to win once I realized that it came with everybody cheers for you and they say your name and you got a nice little gold medal or a trophy, or And I lost the reasoning for that. Like, sure, you should strive to be the best. And sometimes when it comes to certain competitions, you should want to win, but it shouldn't come at the expense of stepping on everybody else all the time, or at least in a negative fashion. So I genuinely think that my purpose in this world now is to be, I guess, for lack of like professional terms, just to, be a better figure, or I guess motivational speaker. But I'm not really there yet. And I need an audience
Don't
and
say that. You just
validation
got
and
to
all
work
that.
at it. Like
I
I can
haven't
see
made
you
that
doing
choice
it.
yet. I haven't made that choice yet, but it just naturally comes, man. It just naturally happens.
Shoot, if you have a story and you want to inspire people, and you feel like they could resonate with it, then you can definitely do it. Like I listen to a lot of motivational speakers. Yeah, like Les Brown, he's a great motivational speaker.
Oh
He
yeah.
go out there, he got a great personality. He'll tell a story, people resonate. He'll tell a joke, make them laugh, but then he inspires them as well, moving the audience. Like,
I recently rediscovered ET, man, and I'm telling you,
oh yeah, yeah, I know.
before hitting puberty, I would listen to him every day, telling myself like, one day, I'm gonna be able to, I'm gonna start to grow. I'm gonna get facial hair, and like to me, that's what I wanted. I know at the time, ET was talking about players trying to be the best players they could be, whatever sport, and weightlifters or people changing their mindset to get into better business and all that other stuff. But to me, he was feeding inner Nico like, hey, I'm gonna get chest hair. I'm gonna be able to lift weights, and not be 120 pounds, and be getting demolished in the weight room or at wrestling practice by some Russian kid that's 170. And I'm looking at him like, damn, this is a grown man slamming me on a mattress. You sure this kid's the same age as me? You know? But I just recently rediscovered that, so I think that might be what my true purpose, right, might be, man. I don't know how else to say it.
sure, I can see it happening. Sure, we're gonna have to talk more about that. Sure,
Absolutely.
I did want to do. I'm like, I don't have that. I had that voice. Sure, I lose my voice too quick. But yeah,
Oh,
that's amazing.
y'all gonna hear me yell at work one day. Y'all gonna know. I
Sure,
got it.
I'm be cheering you on. Be like, yo, you got this. But all right, let me conclude this show real quick.
Yes,
So I just
sir.
want to say thank you to everyone for coming on the Idon Actors Health Show with your host Khalil Smith and my guest Nico. So appreciate you listening on, and y'all have a good night.
Thanks for having me, man.